For more on this, let's bring in Mr. DanMcClory, Managing Director, Head of China for Boustead Securities. Good to see you, sir.
Hey, Phil. Great to see you.
Look, we're always honest with each other, but what I'm hearing from the Biden administration is absolute nonsense. It's either a recession or it's not, and we've always said 2 negative quarter growths it is. Why don't they just come out and say that, okay, technically it is, but it's a different kind of recession and things are much, much better than previous ones? Why don't they just say that?
It's politics. You know, we're heading into midterms. This recession keeps going, and it looks like it could be for another 12 to 16 months. It's going to butt right up against the presidential elections. So it's plain and simple. It's about politics. But, you know, some of this is confidence. Some of this is saying things are going to get better, and they're really not as bad as we think they are. But, you know, I'm with you, Phil. It really comes down to numbers, and the numbers say we're in a recession. Yeah.
Now, for our viewers that are watching, these numbers get revised once and revised twice, and then we all forget about it. But at least the headline, I understand that. So you and I have watched the economy for so many years. Give me your honest take on what's happening on the ground. You see investors, you talk to businesses. What's it like?
Well, there's a great degree of fear and concern. At street level, you know what it's about. It's about gas prices. It's about food. It's about not being able to afford a home because the mortgage costs are going up. All these factors are coming together. Surprisingly, Phil, they are driving some purchases of experiences instead of things. Okay, things have gotten more expensive. Things are out of control. Experiences, in fact, services related to what I would call experiences were up slightly. So it's taken it all the way there. And you know, the real conundrum is we've got this super tight labor market, but my theory on that is so many job seekers are attempting to become upwardly mobile so they can earn more to keep up with inflation. They're causing great constraints on availability of new posts of jobs.
My daughter is in LA, not far from where you are, and we've had recent chats about the rents skyrocketing, and she might be getting paid more, her friends might be getting paid more, but when you're spending more and more disposable income, it feels like a pay cut. And not that, you know, we need to panic over it, but if they want to control inflation, they've got to control some of these real serious non-discretionary costs, which is driving, housing, and things of that, don't they?
Absolutely. I put food right there too. I was in a restaurant the other day and, you know, ordered a side of fries, and they said, you know, we went to get some potatoes and it cost $45 for a big bag of potatoes. And I thought that was a really interesting analogy to hear from a server in a restaurant. And they're trying to figure out, what do? They can only increase prices so much. They can't be out of stock of certain staples. But I think people are really feeling it at the food level.
So we've had these interest rate hikes. We're trying to slow the economy down. We won't know for many, many months whether this is going to work or not. But what are your thoughts on what the interest rate strategy is right now?
Well, I think whether we like it or not, Phil, it's you know, Jerome Powell is saying we've got to slow things down. We need to have some of this excess supply get caught up with the under demand that we've got. So whether we like it or not, I think it's going to happen. Even though, you know, with the rate hike of this week and the rumors of the rate hikes coming in the fall, there's a little bit of difference of opinion. But I think the Fed is committed to continued rate hikes. I think they've got to demonstrate in some way, even if it's injurious to the economy for a while, that they've got inflation under control. Because if not, back to the political point, that just puts things in a huge world of hurt for the Biden administration and those that are going to be competing in the midterms and eventually the presidential election.
Right, and I was trying to avoid politics and all this, but I guess you can't, because the midterms are coming up and they want to say there's a soft landing that's coming, or things are really good, but they're not really good. Do you buy into the soft landing theory?
I'm going to say potentially. And the only reason I'm going to say potentially is that if some confidence gets injected, it's not very likely that that will happen. But if some confidence comes back, we see slightly decreasing gas prices, but they got to such a huge high. There's the possibility of that happening, but we've got to look at the bigger picture and everything else that's going on. We've got to look at factors somewhat beyond our control, you know, war in Ukraine, you know, out of control energy prices across the globe. perhaps a contraction in Europe as a result of that, supply chain issues coming out of Asia. All those other factors are really impacting us. And I'm not saying, it's not our situation to deal with, but there's a lot more involved than just us stimulating monetary policy or slowing it down right here in the USA.
Right, and that brings up a good point. Oil prices, and we talk about travel, whether you're driving across the state or you're flying across the country. I think one-way tickets to LA are $800 or $900 right now just to come see you. I mean, there are companies who will say, look, we're not sending you, go do a Zoom call, we're gonna save money. And if that keeps happening over and over again, these companies are ultimately gonna spend and cut their expenses and spend less money. And what does that do to the economy come Christmas or Q1 of next year?
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to wreak havoc if that's what occurs. We saw these COVID corrections in things like you're mentioning, like travel. The crazy part about travel is you pay these outrageous prices, and then, flights are canceled, they're delayed, you wait around. So you're paying through the nose, and you're not getting nearly the level of service that you should.
At least we get a bag of peanuts, I think. Dan, I could talk to you all night long. It's so good to see you. Thank you very much for a candid discussion.